All right, well look, welcome to Canterbury. You got that nice crisp Canterbury air about. I'm sure that spring is coming, it's just not here quite yet. I've just been speaking to the Canterbury Chamber where we've had a really good discussion about particularly productivity growth and what the government needs to provide in the next few years so that New Zealand can pay its way in the world. We face significant challenges. There's an ageing population, there's increasingly expensive healthcare, there's geopolitical challenges and climate change. All of the challenges that New Zealand faces will be easier if we have a more productive economy. And so the discussion this morning has focused on that, and we really welcome it. I think it's been reinforced by the findings of the New Zealand Herald's Mood of the Boardroom this morning, which has found that 78% of business leaders see controlling government spending and debt as a high priority. I was honoured that the Mood of the Boardroom found I was the highest ranked party leader, and that the Mood of the Boardroom said that ACT is resoundingly ready to play a major role in a future government. ACT's policies around education and regulation were highly ranked, and the discussion that we've had this morning with Canterbury business leaders reflects that need and urgency for real change in policy so that New Zealand can again be a first world country able to afford the healthcare and infrastructure and education and other things that so many people require to maintain the lifestyle that they expect. I also note, also in the New Zealand Herald, not that I don't want to alienate other outlets here, that there's been some commentary from a group of self-identified Māori leaders writing an open letter saying that there should not be racist rhetoric or race baiting in the election. And I completely agree with that top-line sentiment. However, I note that that open letter is an exercise in dogma over reason. There is no criticism of Te Pāti Māori, who have described Pākehā as an archaic species going extinct in a new Aotearoa. There's no criticism of Te Pāti Māori, who have said that Māori are genetically superior to all others. There's no criticism of Te Pāti Māori, who have said that houses should be kept for Māori, not migrants. If you are committed to fighting racism only when it's politically convenient, then you are not committed to fighting racism. Meanwhile, the same open letter criticises ACT's, quote, plan to erase the treaty and rewrite it yourself. ACT has no such plan. ACT's policy, which has been set out in great details in our document, is to redefine the principles of the treaty, which have currently been defined by the courts and the Waitangi Tribunal. We say that Parliament, who initially said that there should be principles, has a right to define what the principles that Parliament first floated are. That is not rewriting the treaty, that is putting the treaty properly understood at the centre of New Zealand's constitutional framework. And I just say to these leaders that it actually requires a kōrero or listening in both directions, not using accusations of racism without evidence for political purposes, because the people making racist comments about wanting to bury each other and the people making false accusations of racism are as bad as each other. What we need is a healthy, honest debate about New Zealand's constitutional future in order that we can get on, link arms and solve the very real challenges that Māori and non-Māori in this country face. Those are a few remarks about things I've seen in the news, but you guys obviously have other things that you're keen to chat about as well as those. I'll leave it open to your questions.
Do you think that open letter is aimed at the ACT Party?
Well, their only reference to the ACT Party completely mischaracterises the policy we have. And that's why I say we welcome open, honest dialogue, but they're not providing it. They're making false accusations of racism and ignoring actual racism while praising Te Pāti Māori who are guilty of it. So, you know, I don't think that they're helping with the healthy, honest debate that New Zealand requires. When you falsely accuse someone of racism, you cheapen the term. It's a very powerful term that we need to describe things that truly are wrong. It should not be misused for political purposes. I think people are tired of being accused of racism with no evidence whatsoever, when what we actually need is an honest, healthy debate about our constitutional future.
Can you think of any times that ACT has been race baiting?
No, I can't. And when you look at their description of our policy, they haven't even described our policy correctly. We have no intention of rewriting the Treaty of Waitangi. We have an intention of properly defining the principles of the treaty that Parliament has started to do 40 years ago but never finished the job. If Parliament created the idea of the treaty having principles, Parliament has a right to define them and people have a right to debate them. That's quite different from what they accuse us of. And if they can't take the time to read our policies, I don't think that they should be criticising us, especially with unfounded, unjustified accusations of racism. That's dogma over reason, and what we actually need is honest, healthy debate in this country.
But is a referendum on the treaty-based basis?
Not at all. The treaty has evolved over many decades, in fact over 183 years. The treaty has principles because Parliament said it has principles. Parliament has the right to define those principles, and if it chooses, put those to a wider vote. That is a natural evolution of the treaty. There's no reason to think that the principles of the treaty, as defined in some court findings in the 1980s, are more correct than what Parliament might discuss and debate today. We need ongoing healthy discussion around our Constitution, not some people saying other people are not allowed to have an opinion and then falsely accusing them of racism.
Māori leaders say there's dog whistling in this campaign. Is that you or New Zealand First?
Well, you'd have to ask them, but once again, while I think the comments about wanting to bury someone are totally reprehensible, so are false accusations of racism, and so is ignoring truly racist remarks from Te Pāti Māori, who they seem to favour with compliments. Now, if they believe that racism is wrong, they should criticise all racism by all people against all people, not just selectively criticise racist remarks when it suits their political agenda.
Are you and New Zealand First fighting over the same vote?
No, you'd be surprised. ACT voters, by and large, ACT voters are people that want to take New Zealand forward, be open to the world. New Zealand First is a party that tends to look backwards and inwards.
On National's finances, do you trust that their fiscal plan will add up?
Well, they haven't released it yet, so it would be a bit unfair to prejudge them. What I know is New Zealand has serious fiscal challenges, and only ACT has released a fully costed alternative budget ahead of time where our numbers add up. Whether or not you trust National's numbers, you need ACT in the next government to hold them all accountable.
National says it'll cut its planned operating allowance. Are you pleased about that?
Well, the planned operating allowance is a small part of the problem. If their suggestion is they're going to reduce the amount of extra spending, that's not getting at the real problem, which is the massive amounts of government waste we have right now. ACT would cut $25.5 billion of waste over 4 years, plus the additional spending we would reduce. So it's not enough just to slow down the increase in spending. You actually have to cut the waste that's already happening. Right, I feel like I might have won, surely. NZB. Well, folks, if that's all you guys want to talk about, then I'm grateful for you coming out and spending your time, and I've actually got to get off down south to meet some more people in Otago. So you have a great day. See you later.